Any specific decisions ethically? Okay. The next is thank you for your entertainment. I enjoy it. All right. All right. The next is about unethical decisions. So, what will happen if you make unethical decisions? So, we are going to look at on the consequences of the unethical decisions. And the final parts, you are looking on the determinants of ethical decisions, and I will be focusing on individual factor, organization factor, and ethical culture. Okay, dear students, are you ready? Ready?
Ready, Miss?
Yes, Viola. Thank you, all of you. Shall we? Okay, if you look at on the screen, the definition for ethical decision is given there. All right. So basically, it's a theory in making ethical decisions begins with the realizing that they are ethical issue in making a decisions. So in other words, ethical decision making is comprised of multiple steps. All right. We have multiple steps, which include the first one is you have to identify your issue. You have to identify your problem. So recognition of ethical issue or problem. So first thing, you should have a problem. You should know what is the problem going on. Without having a problem, you are not required to make decisions, right? So you should identify what is the issue, what is the problem. And number two, you have to do the evaluation. So the evaluation process will involve ethical judgments. Okay, so you are doing a kind of evaluation with the help of ethical judgment in order to evaluate the situation, whether it will give you negative consequences or positive consequences. Okay, and followed by behavioral intentions. What is your intention? What do you want actually? Okay, so your behavioral intentions. And the last one is subsequent behavior. Okay, subsequent behavior. So we will look at in more detail. Why should we even care about how we make decision? Is it a matter? In order to make a decision, is it a matter? Yes, because we should care about bad decision and unethical decision because end of the day it will cost money for the organization. Everything is cost money. All right. So bad decision
Itu banyak soalnya
making.
sesi terus yang ini saya tinggalan.
Salsabila, mute yourself, Salsabila. Okay, kindly mute yourself, Salsa. All right, we continue. So bad decision making may be the biggest cost factor for the business today. Okay, biggest cost. Because, example, if you want to make investment, you should think carefully. Should I invest in plan A or plan B or plan C? All right. So your investment decision also will in tandem with your ethical judgment. So when you're making evaluation, you will bring in the factor of ethical judgment in order to determine whether the investment will cost money or not. Okay. So if you make mistake, all right, if you're making emotional decision without any evaluations, I believe that it will be the biggest cost factor for the business today. All right. So therefore, as a conclusion, ethical business decision result from a decision-making process. Your decision-making process should be evaluated, should be monitored, so that you are making a right decision ethically for your business sustainability. And of course, a part of that, you want to reduce your cost. You want to minimize your cost factor. Okay? Okay. Now, we are going to look at, so what will be the dilemmas in ethical decisions? So when we are making decisions, what are the possible dilemmas? All right. So if you look at here, ethical dilemmas or ethically challenging situation occur when practitioners struggle to determine the appropriate response to a situation that require actions. Okay. So what is the keyword here? Can anyone let me know? What is the keyword? What was the challenge in the sentence given?
Struggle to determine the appropriate response to a situation that requires action.
Yes. Good. Thank you, Hassan. Meaning that you fail to respond immediately. You fail to respond to the situation that require your action. Example, that something happened in your business today, in your organization. Maybe there is a quarrels between employees in the workplace, in the organization. The management should respond immediately to the situation. So meaning that you must take action immediately on the day that incident happened. But if you ignore, if you delay the process, and you make a decision after 1 week, I think there will be a situation, the situation will be more challenging because you might face a lot of negative consequences from the incidents. Okay. So that's the reason that struggle to determine the appropriate response. So the key word is appropriate response to a situation. Okay. You need the reliable response. You need the proper response to the situation. Okay. And according to Cotton and Tavides 2007, they analyze the dilemmas in a wide situation can be specified on the few examples. Okay. If you look at on the number one, can anyone read the number one for me together? Beside Asan, any other one? Read the A. What was the first situation of dilemma? Rama, can you read for me? Rama, are you with me? Okay, Rama is not responding. Any other students who are willing volunteer to read for the A, the first dilemma?
Can I miss?
Yes, my dear, sure.
Such dilemmas arise in a wide array of situations. The first is when ethical principle or standard compete with each other.
All right, thank you. So the first dilemma is when your ethical principle or your ethical standard compete with each other. All right, so you're having a dilemma because your principle is competing with another. So compete each other. All right. Okay, second, anyone? Believe I have a few number of students here. Hello? Hello? Viola, can you read for me, Viola?
Yes, Miss. Ethical code and law or policy are in conflict.
Yeah, thank you, Viola. So ethical codes and law or policy are in conflict. What's the things means? So this is a kind of dilemma, right? What dilemmas that happen in the organization in the process of making ethical decision? Why? Why you are facing these ethical codes and law which is in conflict? Maybe Not everyone happy with your policy. Not everyone happy with your codes. They have a conflict of interest. They have a conflict in the terms of application. Okay? Okay, the third one. Anyone? The C. I think
Conflict between ethical and moral standard.
Wani Balkis. Same name like Yani Balkis or Wani Balkis actually? Yani. Oh, Yani. Okay, Yani, thank you. You're having a conflict between ethical and moral standard. Ethical and moral standard. Yes. Class, I wanted to ask you, do you know what is the difference between what do you call legal standard and moral standard? Do you have idea what is legal standards? I did mention this thing in last week class. What make you different between legal standard and moral standard? You still remember? So for legal standards, you will face the punishment if you against the law and regulation. But for moral standards, there's no punishment, but you will be having a bad reputation for your unethical behavior. So come to this situation, you're having a conflict between the ethical and moral standards. Okay, we have the moral guidance. We have the moral guidance to be implemented in the organization, but we also have the conflict between, they might be a kind of confusion in order to differentiate the situation for ethical and the situation for moral standards. So moral standards can be your norms that culture to everyone, but ethical standard, maybe the norms won't be accepted in every situation. The norms of those people in different states doesn't mean it will be varies between the other states, right? So this is the conflict that might have in the organization when you have the multiple background of employees, your staff, the stakeholders in one organizations. Okay. All right. The next D. Anyone? D for me.
A conflict between competing professional goals.
Yes. So this is the conflict that happened between the competing professional roles. So we have a professional role so-called as accountant, professional accountant, their roles. So they might have the conflict between them for their roles. Okay. Next, E. What is that? E.
Conflict.
Yes, Vidya.
E. Conflict between the interests of multiple parties.
Yes. Same like yourself in this class. All right. You're having a number of about 40 plus number of students over here. Is it everyone having your own interest? You're having your own interest, right? Okay. You're having your own interest. So you are considered in one organization, same thing. You have multiple parties, multiple stakeholders, and every stakeholders having their own interests. So this is, we call it conflict between the interests of multiple parties in the organization. The interest of everyone is different. So they might have a conflict each other. Okay. So next, F.
Improper practice of other professional.
Yes, thank you, Yani. Improper practices of other professional. So meaning that your practice of your role as a professional accountant was improper. So when I say improper, maybe you're not carrying out your duty responsibly or honestly or ethically, right? We have values for professional accountant. Yeah? We have some values in terms of due care, in terms of they have to maintain their responsibility, in terms they have to maintain their objectivity, their integrity. So all these things are ethical values of the professional accountant. So if they fail to do that, they are classified as a situation of improper practice of the roles of professionals. All right. All right. And the last one, G. Can we call anyone's any new student, any new other than the same person who are participating? Hello. Hello.
E. Unclear application of standard due to the complexity of the situation or some other circumstance.
Circumstance. All right, good. So unclear application of standard. So maybe there is a ethical standards, which is some parties, they don't have a clear understanding about the application of the standards. Okay, so maybe it's too complex, complexity of the situation, because sometimes the situation is too complex, you can't make a decision. It's very difficult for you to apply the standards. Okay, so or some other circumstances. Yes, the rules say, example, the rules say you are prohibited to attend any private parties by using company funding for business purposes. So, but under circumstances, maybe you need that funding in order to meet any special client that will be beneficial for your future project of the business. So this is considered a kind of unclear application due to some other circumstances that require you to be thoroughly analysis the standards. Okay, so if you look at here, we have covered what are the dilemmas in ethical decisions that might cause the difficulties for the peoples in the organization to make a decisions ethically. Okay, so are you clear so far? Right, so far okay, good. Next, my question is, before we look at on the screens, as I am displaying the screens for you, actually why we need ethical decisions? Why? Can anyone share your opinion? Wrong, never mind. Just in one word or two words, just share your opinion. Why we need ethical decision from your understanding? Anyone? Just tell me. Hassan, and I want to listen to your answer. Why we need ethical decision actually? Is there any benefit for the ethical decision? Hassan is here.
Yes, Miss.
Yes. Hassan, what is your opinion? Why we need ethical decision? Maybe you can say that I mentioned just now, right? It's because decision is involving cost. So if you make ethical decision, you can save your cost factor. Correct or not? Okay. Other than that, anyone? What is the benefit of making ethical decision? Anyone? Is it can enhance your business reputation? Is it can prevent your organization from any lawsuit, any litigation issue? Is it can prevent any negative consequences? So all my statement was correct. Okay. So basically that is the reason that we need the ethical decision. So in this case, if you look at on the screen, why of ethical decision? Because basically ethical decision is the process. The process for you to make a choice. You are making a choice when faced with an ethical dilemma. Okay. So ethical dilemma mean always happen when the situation that should I do or should I not do? Do I need to report or no need to report? Do I need to inform the management or just being silent? You see, it's a dilemma. Dilemma that you don't know whether you should do or you shouldn't do. Okay, always that is the ethical dilemma that you might face in the situation. So there are certain guideline. We have to follow the guideline, the approaches for you to act ethically. Okay, so you can use to inform and feel confident in your choices. Okay, example, you can use the utilitarian approach, you can use a virtuotic approach, and you can use the justice approach. Okay, so this is another part of your studies where you look at on more detail about utilitarian, virtuoetics, and justice. Okay, so after weighing the negative consequences, means after you filter out, oh, I should make a decision, you know. Example, if I'm telling you, I come to the realistic. Maybe you have an idea. Should I attend this session this morning or should I not? Then you list down. If I attend, what is the outcome? If I don't attend, what is the outcome? Okay. So if you attend this session, what will be the outcome? So you are really fulfilling the requirement of attendance of your faculty, right? Number two, you are learning the new knowledge with the sharing with the international session. And number three, it will be benefited for your class your future classroom understandings for the subject matter. All right. So this all the benefit. This all the outcome. Okay. But what will be the outcome if you don't attend? Maybe there will be disciplinary act for not attending the class from your faculty. Correct or not? There's a possibility. Number two, you are really missing the contents of the subject matter in the discussion for you to have a better understanding. All right. So these are the something like what are the outcome if I do, what are the outcome if I don't do. Okay. So by looking on this both outcome, you are evaluating, you are doing a kind of weighing that, oh, more positive or more negative. Okay, if more positive, so I will make that choice as the ethical decision. If more negative, so I will ignore that decisions, I will ignore that choices. Are you clear what I'm saying? So you are making a kind of ethical judgment by evaluating the outcome, the possible outcome, whether more negative consequences or whether more positive consequences. Okay. So after you filter out the negative consequences of the decision against your ethical standard, now you can move forward with the route that align with your values. So after you evaluate, oh, now I'm very clear. If I do this, more positive. So therefore, I make a choice. So I make a choice to attend, example. So when I make a choice to attend, so now I'm moving forward in order to create value for myself. So you are getting the values, positive value, positive outcome, positive consequences from the decision that you have made. Okay? But normally, it's very quite difficult for the people in the organization to think ethically before they make decision. They are too rushed in making decision in reality in some of the situation, because when you are emotionally disturbed with any situation, there is a tendency that you make a emotional decision without thinking about the consequences or the outcome from the decisions. Okay, so that is the kind of encouragement in every decision that you are making, whether I should choose dilemma plan A or plan B. You have to list out what are the possible outcome, then only you make a decision. This we call it the process of evaluations. Okay, so the conclusion is, before you take action on any issue, okay, example, your staff always come late, is it a good idea to scold him publicly in front of other employees? Okay, so you must think twice before you make that decision. So what you have to do, You must acknowledge and understand the factors that might affect your ethical decision-making process. Okay? So before you do that something emotionally, you must think about the ethical decision-making process that will be very beneficial in order to accept the reality of the situation. Okay? All right. I hope that you still remember which I have shown these last week classes. You still remember this? What is our first process altogether? What is our first process? The step involved in ethical decision making?
Identify the problem.
Yes, you have to identify your problem. What is your problem? What is your issue? You have to identify your problem. Number two, what do you have to do?
Identify stakeholders.
Yes, when you have a problem, you should know who are involved with the problem, the people who are involving in the problem. So that's we call it who's the stakeholders. Okay. Number three,
Identify alternatives.
yes, alternative. What do you mean by alternative? Anyone? I did mention this last week. Identify alternative mean, in other words, you're looking forward to identify the possible solution for your situation. Okay, for the issue, for the problem that you are facing. Number four, what are they?
Identify factors.
Yes, identify factors. So this is your current topic. Okay, identify factors. This is your topic 5, whereby you are learning the determinants of ethical decision making. The determinants. Determinants mean you're identifying the factors of ethical decision making. What are the factors that involving in decision making process? And what are the factors that contributing for the ethical decision? So the determinant factors, right? After you knowing the determinant factors, your number 5, what do you have to do? What do you have to do?
Propose and test.
Yes, you have to propose your action and you test a kind of pilot test or snip test in order to see whether it is applicable or not, it is workable or not, it is effective or not. All right, your proposed actions. All right. And finally, if your proposed action is workable, if your proposed action is efficient, after you have done the test, therefore you will, what is the last one? Number 6.
Make the decisions.
Yes, you will make the decision to formulate the action, to formulate the strategy that you have tested. Okay, so these are the process. So our today's topic is number 4. We are going to identify the factors in determinants of ethical decision making. Very good. Next. So I'm moving on the concept of ethical decision making. If you look at on your Google Scholar search, if you're looking for any domain for the searching, so you will find the word of EDM. Okay, EDM is proper terms for the words of ethical decision making. And there are many scholars, many empirical evidences that have been done, the research that have been carried out for this topic. It's a super, super fantastic topic because by knowing this ethical decision making, you can link up with any other sectors. You want to link with the audit, you want to link with costing, you want to link with finance, you want to link ethical decision in auditing, in taxation, everything can be done because every sector we need the ethical decision making. So the scope of this topic is too broad, okay, too broad, and it can be implemented in every section, every sectors, or in every field of studies. Okay, it's a very, very huge, demandable topic, right? Ethical decision making, right? So we are going to describe the steps, right? So if you're looking on the step of ethical decision making, so basically it's a guide an individual to guide the individual a thorough process to make a decision when they are confronted with the ethical dilemma. So when you are in the issue, when you are in the problem, or when you are in the ethical dilemma, so you will be given the steps to guide your decision making process. Okay, so what is ethical dilemma? I explained just now, is a situation where two or more conflicting values which overrides the others. Okay, A and B, value of conflicting values of A overriding the B, or B overriding the A. So we have the ethical dilemma of situation. So we don't know which one you want to implement. You want to implement the plan A or plan B because of the conflicting values. All right. So this we call it ethical dilemma. So in this situation, what do you have to do? So sometimes this situation is beyond the what is defined by law. Okay, in moral standards or ethical standards, we can't implement the law because the law does not specify what we are supposed to do. Okay, example, if you have a quarrel with your good friend, your friend suddenly angry with you, you call him out for, okay, shall we go for berbuka today together? You call your friend. And then your friend said, no lah, I don't want friend with you. I don't want go with you. All right. Is it any law for you to make to lodge a report? Is it any law? Can you go to faculty, make a complaint in the official letter? Dear faculty lecturers, dear dean, I'm having an ethical dilemma. I'm having a situation whereby my friend don't want to invite me for the dinner today. I'm having a quarrel with my friend. Can you make an official report? My Shara is smiling at me. Can we make an official report? Yani, can we make a report? Go to faculty, make a report. If your friend does not want to accept your invitation to go for dinner today. Yani, can we report officially to the faculty? Is it any law? Is it any standard? Or can we go to police station, make a report? Can we? My Chara? Can we go to police station and make a report if your friend doesn't want to follow you to the dinner today?
No,
Can or
Miss.
not? Cannot, right? Because it is not this the situation that override the others, meaning that it cannot be defined. It's beyond the law, beyond the law. Okay, because this is your friendship value. Your friendship value does not any law in the regulations unless you make a crime. You make a crime, you can go and report. Okay, if not a crime, I think it is beyond the law. So same thing in this situation. So this we call it ethical dilemma. You're too frustrated. What should I do? How am I going to make a decisions to make sure that your friend become continue the friendship with you? I see you are in the ethical dilemma. All right. So it's a situation of conflicting value which override the others. Okay. So I'm giving some example which is close to you to make you understand. But in exam, do not write my example. It's just for make you understand. In reality,
Miss.
yes, thank you. So in reality, we are looking on the conflict that happened in the business organization. Okay, in the business organization. So what do you have to do in this case? In the case of ethical dilemma, the individual is faced with a choice and needs to make a decision. So it's not easy, in the organization, you want to make a choice because you want to take care your reputation. You want to take care your relationship with all employees. You cannot be biased. You cannot be too favoritism. Oh, I like this employee very much. So whatever she asks, I will do my favor to her. Cannot. So that is the ethical dilemma that you might face in the organization, whereby you must make a choice and needs to make a decisions. Okay, so that's we call it ethical decision making. Everyone can make decision, but not everyone can make an ethical decision. So remember this, right? Okay. Okay, next. So if you look at the a decision of action, a decision or action considered ethical or right if it conform to certain standard. Ah, how am I know that the decision that I'm making is right or wrong? Who going to evaluate? Is it any benchmark? Is it any guideline for me to make to evaluate my decision whether it is right or wrong? Yes, you have the consideration, which is you have to fulfill the requirement of certain standard in order to ensure that your decision is right, ethically right. Okay, so therefore EDM. So what is EDM? EDM stand for?
Ethical decision making.
Yes, thank you. So EDM propose that decision or action are be compared against the four standard for a comprehensive assessment of ethical behavior. So meaning that you must fulfill the four standards in order for you to make a decision. Okay, the four steps, the four standards, the four elements that should be fulfilled in order to make a comprehensive ethical decision. Okay, so it's a kind of comprehensive assessment for the ethical decision. So what is the number one? Can anyone let me know what is number one?
Consequences, benefit, or cost.
Wow, I'm happy. Now few are participating together. Good, good. All right. So consequences created, benefit or cost. So in other words, I'm looking on what? So you are looking on, as what I mentioned just now. I just explained to you. You have to evaluate the possible consequences. The possible consequences of your decision. All right? Consequences created. What is the possible decision? What is the possible outcome? Is it more negative outcome or more positive outcome? So in other words, is it more negative consequences or more positive consequences? So if you look at on the keyword there, benefit or cost mean, benefit is referring to positive, positive, positive what? More benefit mean more positive? More positive? What's the keyword? If I say more benefit means more what? In other words, it's more positive? Quickly? More positive consequences. If you have more positive consequences, we consider as a benefit. So kalau cost, more
Negative consequences.
Negative.
yes, so clever, very good. More negative consequences. So you are making the difference between more benefit or more cost. More benefit, more cost mean more positive consequences or more negative consequences. So that's where you're looking on the number one. What is the consequences of your decision? So clear with the number one? Are you clear? Very clear, number one? Good?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
good. We go to the second standards or second steps. Anyone?
Right
Right.
and duties affected.
Yes, rights and duties affected. So you have to mention, are you offending any rights and duties or not in your decision? When you're making decision, Are you offending anyone's rights and duties? Or are you obey to your right and duties? So make sure that your duties won't be affected. Example, I'm the manager. Okay, I'm the manager of the organization. All right, assume I'm the manager. Huh? Assume I'm the manager. Suddenly, one of your staff came to see you saying that, boss, I'm having a financial problem. I would like to make a loan with the company for 10,000. So, for me, is it easily I can grant the loan of 10,000 to him?
No.
No, because it's some sort like I'm favoritism to him. I'm biased to him because I should follow what is my rights, what's my duties. So I cannot against that. If my duties is permitting me to grant a loan to him after a proper discussion, proper paperwork, proper confirmation and permission from the top management, then it should be okay. So meaning that my duties is not affected. I already asked the responsible person, the respective party, to make a decision for this case. So when the employee come and see me, okay, I will tell him, all right, I'll bring the issue to the top management. Let me finalize and come back to you after the decision made by the management with the team. So you go and you make the issue properly, you write it the paper, or you send an email, black and white, you send an email, you bring up this issue in the meeting with the management or the respective party to inform the situation of this particular employee, and you are making a decision together with the management. So in this situation, your rights and duties are not affected. You're not offending your rights, your duties. But what happens if you make an immediate decision? When the person asks for 10,000, okay, you need a loan, right? Okay, now I'm instructing the finance department to transfer the payment to your account. So, which is, I'm not evaluating the process. I'm not evaluating the situations. I'm not making ethical decisions. I'm making decisions immediately, emotionally, and which is unfair to other employees. Okay? So that's we call it the rights and duties should not be affected. So when you're making any decision, make sure you are not offending any rights. You're not offending your duties. You cannot do something against your law, beyond law stated for your duties and regulations. Okay, you cannot against that. Okay, so you must make sure that you must take care the welfare of other stakeholders. You must take care the rights of all the stakeholders. You cannot offend the rights of any stakeholders in the organizations. Okay, good, clear? Okay, now move to number 3. What is that?
Fairness involved.
Yes, fairness involved. The third standard is you must make sure that there is a fair and justice. Okay, fair and justice. So in other words, is fairness. So like another word, we also call as a fair treatment, fair practices. Okay, so you should be fair to everyone. You cannot be biased. Example, if you want to make a decisions, let's say your company is business are doing so good, so you want to increase the overtime hours in order to maximize the productivity. But the group of workers who going to be targeted for this extra overtime working hours should be fair enough. You cannot targeting the same group to do the extra overtime. Or you cannot be biased. You cannot be biased. Oh, this group of people, you always want to choose the people who are close to you. You want to choose the people who are really looking for financial stability. Okay, you have a financial problem. Okay, I give you extra overtime for you. No, it's not fair to other employees. All right. So you should make sure that the fairness must be involved. It should be, example, it should be by rotation base, or it should be by identifying the background of each employees, and you should ask their rights. Do they willing to work for overtime or not? You cannot simply instruct them by giving a compulsory statement to them. You should ask whether they could do it or not. They are willing or not. So this we call it the fairness. You should be very fair in making decision. The decision cannot be biased. The decision must be more benefit than burden. More benefit and burden. So if you're making a decision, oh, the fairness means more benefit, not burden, less burden, ataupun zero burden. It's only more benefit for you. It's fair to others. All right. Okay. Number 4, the last one.
For motivation expected.
Yes, Ramawati. Okay, thank you. Motivation expected. So motivation expected mean, what are the moral character that you are looking for? What is your expectation? What is your expectation in terms of moral character? The motive of the decision. What is your motive must be very clear. If your motive is towards self-interest, towards own benefit, towards being selfish, I think it's a wrong. It's a wrong decision making. But if your motive is very clear, in order to enhance the justice, in order to enhance the ethical reasoning, in order to enhance the reputation and so on. So this is your motivation that expected from this decision. It's very important. Okay? Are you with me? Are you still with me?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, good. So these are the first 3 of this consideration involve. What is the number 1? As I mentioned, if you're looking on the consequences, whether more benefit or more cost, whether more positive outcome or more negative outcome. So the first criteria is, we call it as a consequentialism. So consequentialism, I believe that you have learned before. Your consequentialism meaning that it related to your first standard just now, consequences. So any decision, whether it is right or wrong, is based on the outcome of the decision. If more benefit, more positive outcome, so the action is considered right. If more negative outcome, so the action is considered wrong. So that's, we call it consequentialisms. The second is deontology. Deontology means you're looking on your rights and duties. Your second standard just now, second standard just now, right and duties. If your action is obey, your action is follow the rights and duties, meaning that your action is right. But if your action is against the rights and duties, therefore your action is wrong. That's, we call it under the deontology. So deontology is based on your obligation of your duties. You have to fulfill your duty, your obligation to fulfill your duty and rights. Okay? So if you fail to fulfill, meaning that your action is wrong. All right? And the third one, when I say fairness just now, so fairness is related to justice approach. Okay? So you're giving a fair treatment to everyone. You're being very fair. You're implementing justice approach, meaning that without bias, without favoritism, everyone are treated equally. Okay? So therefore, we are focusing on the impact of the decisions of the stakeholders. So other stakeholders, shareholders and stakeholders. So in overall, this is the process that we call it as a stakeholder impact analysis, right? Stakeholder impact analysis. And the last one, you have the motivation, right? So this motivation, we call it as a motivation of the decision maker. So what is your intention? What do you want actually? So make sure your motivation, your intention should be ethical, should be right, in order to make a right ethical decisions. Okay? All right, good. So we have covered this. Now we are looking on the last part of the ethical decision making, whereby you are looking on what are the process that involve. Okay? So what is the first process? Number one. Siapa tak baca lagi? Who haven't read yet? Who haven't participated? Come, join with me. I'm welcoming you to join with me. I think I'm having more than 50 candidates over here, 50 students here. There are many names that I haven't called you, right? So can you? What is the number one?
Gather relevant information.
Gather relevant information. Viola, all right? You have to gather the relevant information. So what is the information that you are going to gather? Is it about your issue? Is it about your problem? Yes. So if you have any issue, you have to identify what is the issue, what is the problem, and after that, you have to gather the relevant information pertaining to the issue or problem. Because you cannot say, come to the management, you cannot say, someone fighting. That's it. That's it. And then you never gather the information. Who are them? Where they are fighting? And for what reason they are fighting in the organization? So is it anyone injured? So all these things are information that should be gathered when you have any issue or dilemma or problem at the workplace, at the organizations. All right, number one. Number two.
Evaluate the potential consequence of different actions.
Yes, thank you. You have to evaluate what is the potential consequences of the different action. Potential consequences, okay, of different action, meaning that the consequences will be, potential consequences will be, as what I mentioned just now. You are evaluating whether more positive consequences or more negative consequences. So you are evaluating the consequences from different action. So if I do like action A, plan A, what will be the consequences? If my action is on plan B, what will be the consequences? So you are evaluating every stage. You are evaluating in order to make a decisions. Okay. All right. Number three.
Consider the interests of multiple stakeholders.
Yes, you will consider the interests of multiple stakeholders. So you're having a multiple stakeholders in the organization. So who are them? It can be your employee, board of directors, can be your supplier, can be your customer, can be your community, can be government. So you have multiple stakeholders. So you have to consider their interest. You have to make a decision based on their interest of the stakeholders. Okay, you cannot ignore them. You cannot ignore their interest as the stakeholders. Okay. All right. Number four.
Seek guidance from college or external resources.
Yes, you seek guidance. After you consider the interest, you seek guidance from someone's. Can be external resources or can be from your own colleagues. Okay, you're seeking their guidance or some opinion in order for you to make a decisions ethically. All right, and the number five.
Choose an option and commit to it.
Yes. So meaning that when you choose an option, example, this option A and B. Let's say you have chosen option B. So once you have chosen the option B in the decision making, make sure you commit to it. You must do it. You must fulfill the requirement of option B. It's not just just a sake of you are just choosing, but you are not committed to it. Okay, it cannot be like that. You have to choose and commit with the option that you have chosen. And the last one, number six.
engage in ethical reason and reflection.
Yes, you have to engage in ethical reasoning and reflections. So I have covered ethical reasoning and reflection in last week's slides or the things, right? So it's more toward your justification and how we are going to overtake the situations. Okay, good. All right. So we have done on the first part of the understanding what is ethical decision and why we need ethical decision and what are the steps that involve for make ethical decisions making and so on, right? So now the second part is you are going to look at on the unethical decision making. So unethical decision making mean, all right, can I get someone to read the first bullet of points? Can someone read for me? When organization, what is that? Can someone read for me the first paragraph, the first bullet?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Salsa, you can. Salsa, are you going to read?
Oh, yes, Miss. Okay. When organizations are functioning well, decisions are usually made with consideration of their ethical and moral results. But when organizations are in crisis, as many currently are today, unethical decision making often take place.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So what is the key point over there? What is the key point over there? So when your organization are functioning well, so meaning that your business organization's functions are good, okay? So your decision are usually made with the consideration of their ethical and moral result. So you will make a consideration based on what is your outcome from your moral result, what is your ethical concerns. But when your organization are in crisis, when you are in crisis mean when you have in the problem, when you have in the issue, all right? When you are in the situation of any unexpected conditions, huh? So as many currently are today, unethical decisions are often take place. So this is always the things that happen, huh? When your business are doing well with the proper functions, regulations, and ethical standards. So there's no any issue with the ethical and moral result. So definitely everything will become with a positive outcome. All right. But yeah, only the matter when your business are having any kind of crisis. So crisis because of public reputation, crisis of public image, or in other words, maybe people are start complaining regarding your product, regarding the quality of your product and so on. When you start complaining, so I believe that that's a situation of whereby most of the organization tends to make a unethical decision making because of the situation that to cover up your crisis. Okay, so this is the unethical decision making conditions. So the next paragraph, anyone? Anyone? Hello? I don't have a volunteer for me to anyone to read the second.
Can I, Miss?
Yes, thank you, Siti.
Okay, the paragraph 2 is Christensen and Cole, 2003, point out that when organizations are in crisis, they experience continuous disorder, causing crisis after crisis that crisis, constant stresses for management and employee that ultimately increase unethical decision, worker dissatisfaction, and burnout.
Yes, thank you so much. So now you can list out what are the negative consequences from unethical decision making? Can anyone let me know? If you're looking on the second paragraph, they list out all the negative consequences from the unethical decision making. According to Criticism and Calls 2003, they have pointed out some outcome from the negative consequences when your organizations are in crisis. Okay, of course they will face a lot of disorder, causing them too much of stress, right? So what will be the negative outcome? Those who are highlighted in blue, what are the number one, what you might face?
Constant stress.
Crisis. Yes, what is that, Salsa?
Constant stresses for management and employees.
Yes, constant stresses for management and employee. Your situation will be too much stress. Constantly you will be in the stress by the management and the employees. That's number one, if your decision is unethical. Number two, causing crisis after crisis. So meaning that what? You can't solve. From one problem become another two problems. From two problem become three problems. So the will causing crisis after crisis continuously. Okay. And what is number three? What else? The negative outcome. What else?
It will increase unethical decisions.
Yes, increase unethical decision. Okay. So there will be more towards unethical decision. So increase unethical decision. Next, what else?
Worker dissatisfaction.
Yes, worker dissatisfaction. Okay. So most of your employees, your workers won't be happy with you with the crisis that happening in the organization. So they will have a more worker dissatisfaction. And the last, number 6, what is that?
Burnout.
Burnout. Class, do you have a feeling of burnout? Have you ever this feeling before? I'm burned out today. Did you say any of the days as a student's life, did you mention this or any of the crises that happened to you that you mentioned the word burnout?
Yes, Miss.
You're so good, so cutely answering me. Yes, miss. Yes, I'm burnout. Okay, thank you. So, what do you do with the situation of burnout? So, this is the one. When you are continuously facing the crisis, all right, which cause you too much of stress, too much of dissatisfaction and pressures, this will finally you will end up with a burnout. Burnout is the feeling that you're totally disappointed with the situation until the stage that you are emotionally disturbed, emotionally terribly disturbed, and you can't even make a decisions and you feel like too down, too down. Right? You're like you're having a high negative perceptions or situation that conquering your mind, in poor stabilities of your minds. All right, that's because under burnout. So this is the consequences that might happen according to Criticisms and Codes 2003 for the situation of unethical decisions. Okay, clear? So far good? All
Good,
right,
Miss.
thank you. Thank you, my dear. Next, now we are moving towards the real content of the studies. What are the determinants of ethical decision? Okay, So what are the determinants of ethical decision? Okay. If anyone remember what was my learning outcome, I did mention about 3 determinants, 3 factors in my learning outcome, my earlier slide. Learning outcome, I mentioned about 3 factors for determinants of ethical decision. Okay, just a pop-up quiz with you. Can anyone tell me what was there? Hello, anyone remember? Try and error. Wrong is okay. If you remember quickly, anyone? Anyone? Hello? Anyone? You still remember my earlier slide? No? Okay. Never mind. It's okay. We are going to look at, let me show my earlier slide to you. What are the determinants?
Individual,
Organization, ethical culture, Miss.
Yes, very good. So this is the one that we are going to cover now. Okay. So the determinants of ethical culture, actually, you have it below here. You suppose can see here, the one that I've highlighted in blue, but nobody noticed this in order to answer my question just now. Okay. All right. All right. Now, so what you're going to do, you're going to understand the role of determinants of the ethical decision making in business organization has become increasingly appealing to the field of business ethics. So what you're going to do, so if you look at here, from the empirical evidence, there are various ethical decision making models put more emphasis on a narrow set of determinants of ethical decision making. So they already group into 3 significant factors. All right. In other words, 3 important factors. Namely, number 1, individual factors. Number 2, organizational factor. And number 3, ethical culture factor. Okay. So meaning that in order a person, in order to make a ethical decision, it could be the factors that involving with the individual itself. All right, we call it factor individu. We call it factor individu. In other words, it's an individual factor. All right, they could be the reason. We're looking on their reasons why they could influence the ethical decision making. Okay, so that's our idea. All right, so look at here, individual determinants in ethical decision making. So if you're looking on individual factor, so individual determinants range from personal attributes, personal attribute factors. Some sort like we are looking on their nationality, we are looking on their gender, we are looking on their age factor. So all these things will contribute to human development and socialization factors. Okay? It's contribute to the human development. Sometimes we do say, oh, more aged people will be more senior. More senior mean more aged people will be more matured. So when they make a decision, the decision will be correct because they are more matured, they are less emotional. Compared to those who are very young, they are too emotional and they are unable to make a matured decision. This is a kind of a personal attribute factor of the individual which can contribute as an influencing factor for the ethical decision making. Okay? All right. So other than personal attribute, we also have a socialization factor. So looking on the personality, am I too introvert? Am I too extrovert? So if I'm too introvert, mean I'm not a person who easily socialize with anyone. I'm not a person that easily can mingle with a group. I love to be alone. I don't like to mingle with anyone. So this also is considered as your personality. Or maybe your nature, your personality, your personality, what kind of person you are. All right. The second is your attitude. Your attitude will determine your background of decision making. Some are very good attitude, very responsible person, highly committed person. So when we say the persons who are very responsible, highly committed, very humble person, so we could say that they are capable to make ethical decisions. But the persons who are very arrogant, okay, less effort, easily give up. So these are the symptoms that showing that the person's having poor individual factor in order to make ethical decisions. All right. The next is continue with the values. What kind of values? Is it they have a integrity, objectivity? Is it a honesty person? Is it a high competent person? So all these things will judge by their values. And then looking on their education background. Is it highly educated? So highly educated, more knowledgeable, more experienced, so more open-minded, more broader-minded. So they are very good in evaluating the decision in order to be in order to be ethically accepted. But compared to people who are less education or low education, they don't have a good exposure. So when they don't have a good exposure, they don't have a good experience, so there is a tendency that they fail to make a ethical decision. Okay, that's about education background. And then followed by the religion matters. Maybe it will place sense for certain under circumstances. So under which circumstances? Example, if you know the value of Islamic perspective from the from axioms of Islam, or in other words, nature of the man, so definitely you will make a decisions accordingly in order to obey to your religions. If you're not obey to your religion, you tend to have a negative or unethical decision making. All right. And then the last one is your employment factor. Looking on your period of employment, your position of your employment. So in other words, your working experience and so on. So if you have a very good working experience, more than 10 years, 20 years, so people will have trust on your decision-making process. Because people know that, oh, this person are knowledgeable, this person a well-experienced person, they know how to face the situation, some sort like that, right? So basically, these are the factors that represent the life experience and circumstances of birth that a particular individual brings to the decision-making process. So this ideology was introduced by Ford and Richardson 2013 in one of their empirical evidence. This was their findings. The finding noticed that personal contributes and socialization factors is one of the is a key factors in the under the group of individual determinants, right? Okay, so followed by trivinos. I hope that you remember trivinos that I covered last week. All right, it's based on realized action behavior theory. Okay, your realized action behavior theory, Tribino's 1986. According to him, the determinants of those represented in the model, among others, are Tribino's come up with the model. What are the determinants factors under individual? So when you say individual, we do have their sub factors also. So what are they? Locus of control, ego strength, and field dependence. So these are the three that related under the individual determinants in decision making. So we are going to look at in more detail. Okay, locus of control. So what you're going to say about the locus of control? The business ethic literature established a link between locus of control and ethical judgment and behavior. So meaning that you're looking on judgment, you're looking on behavior, the link between these two with locus of control. Example, Jones 1991 also suggests something for this locus of control, saying that based on the internal external orientation, the locus of control affect differently the individual. The impact is different according to individual. Does not same. It is varies according to individual. So therefore, what they are requesting, an individual's locus of control would affect how this individual identify a moral issue. So your locus of control basically will affect your individual identity. Okay, will affect your individual identity, a moral issue. So according to him, the locus of control as a scale, they got a scale, they have a scale, a measurement scale, evaluation scale, that would measure to what extent an individual relies on his or her own belief to determine right from wrong. They will see. They have some sort like the determination of this is right or wrong varies according to individual. Something that which is right for you doesn't mean right for others. It could be wrong for them. Something that which is wrong for you, it could be right for others. Okay, so that's the reason according to tribunals, they have the scale for locus of control. They have a scale, and this scale they want to measure to what extent. To what extent mean you are looking on the level of degree. Okay, and to what extent is it very major or moderate level, extensive level, or very minimal level? So you have the measure the scale to measure to what extent, okay, of your reliability on your own belief, how much you trust your own belief, okay, your own belief, in order to determine that what is right and what is wrong. Okay, so that's about locus of control. How about the next, which is ego strength? So ego, which is number 2. Ego strength means possessing strong convictions, being courageous and persistent. So meaning that you are very strong enough in your statement, in your convictions. So when you make any judgment, when you make any statement, you are very strong with your statement. You always stand for it. You defend for it because of your persistence to it. All right. So in this case, ego strength help to overcome impending challenges. Yes, it is helpful for you to overcome the challenges. This is finding that found by Nusi and Narvas 2008. Again, Tribunus also having his opinion because he introduced ego strength in a decision-making model as a determinant factor. Because according to him, what he said, those individuals with high ego, whether you have high or low, okay? If your ego is too high, if your ego strength is too high, you are expected to resist impulse and follow their conviction more than individual with a low ego strength. So I conclude, if your ego is too high, what will happen? You will have strong convictions. So when you have a strong conviction, So what will happen to other individual? They will listen to you. Okay? Resist impulse and follow their conviction more than individual. So majority will follow your what do you call your conviction. Because of the strong conviction, people will listen to you. All right, people will follow your suggestion, what you propose, compared to those individuals who are having a low ego strength. Okay? Are you okay so far? Can you?
Okay, Miss.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. So what is your idea of the locus of control? All right. So if you look at here, you have done the locus of control. Can you let me know what is the keyword? I already explained to you just now, right? So what is the keyword of the locus of control over here? What is the keyword? Look at on your third bullet. Okay, your locus of control here is become a scale. Scale for you to measure what? Scale for you to measure?
To what extent an individual relies on his or her own beliefs to determine right from wrong.
Yes, you want to measure to what extent an individual relies. Okay, that's about locus of control. I just recalling back. Ego, what is the keyword? If you have high ego strength, what will happen?
Expected to resist impulses and follow their convictions more than individuals with low ego strength.
Yes, exactly. If you have high ego strength, you will resist to follow their convictions compared to those individuals with a low ego strength. Very good. Okay, we move on to the third. Field dependence. Okay, field dependence. Can I have anyone to read for me the field dependence, the first bullet? Volunteer? Any volunteer to read the first? Field dependence.
May I, Miss?
Yes. What happened to the rest? Why always salsa? Okay, continue salsa, no problem.
Okay, Miss. Field dependence is defined as individuals' reliance on external reference to guide them through ambiguous situations, as opposed to reliance on internal sources of information such as people's own logic, standards, or values.
Yes, exactly. So if you look at the field dependence mean, you are looking on the individual reliance on the external reference. Okay? External reference to guide them, all right? To guide them on the situation towards the internal sources of the information. So meaning that the people will use their own logic, own standard, or own values. Sometimes people will say, okay, use your own common sense. Use your own logic to make a decision. So when you, sometimes when in order to make a reference or in order to make a decision, you are referring to someone. So you are referring the problem to external parties, external reference, those who are related to your field in order to get their expert comment or expert opinion. Okay, so this we call it as a field dependence. All right. So what will happen? Field dependent individual make their ethical decision according to other standard. You will make a decision based on other standards because you listen to other people, expert opinion, expert review, expert, those who are expert in the field, right? So what will happen? The field dependent individual make their decision according to their own standard regardless of the context in which these decisions are being made. So when you are referring to others, you are no longer following the standards of your organization. You are making decisions based on your own standard, own logic, own values, or own common sense after get an opinion from the external reference. No matter whether the standards, what do you call, regardless of the context, regardless of the context. So you're too open, you're too open-minded, and you're able to evaluate the situations with the opinions from the others in order to support your decision-making process. Okay, but the person that you are referring, the external referent, it should be someone who is reliable to your field of working. Someone who's reliable. Example, let's say you're working in the automobile industry. You want to make a decision for your organization regarding the spare part issues in your automobile industry. Once you are facing a problem with your supplier, you can't get the spare part. You feel that you're very difficult for you to continue with the service of the automobile industry. So what do? You are getting an opinion from the experts from the automobile industry as an external reference, get their guides, and from their guidance, you are making the decision from your own logic and understanding with your own common sense, which is you feel that this is a right ethical decision for the situation. Okay, so this we call it field dependence. Okay, so successfully we have covered the first determinant of individual, first determinant in ethical decision making, so-called as the first one, which is individual factor. Okay, so now I would like to proceed with the second factor, so-called as organizational determinants in ethical decision making. So we are looking on the organizational, what will be the determinants in ethical decision making. All right, if I look at here, in addition to individual personal attributes, there is a variable comes externally to the individual which would affect their ethical decision making. So this variable, we call it as an organizational factor. Okay, so if you look at on the example, the general theory of marketing, ethics of Hunt and Whitfield, 1986, 1993, 2006, they assume that there are 4 different categories of variables which will affect the process of decision making. According to them, they say we have 4 process of decision making. So combined with personal characteristics of the decision maker, these categories are cultural environment, professional environment, industry environment, and organizational environment. So these are these are the 4 factors that will involve mainly in the determinants of ethical organization. So I'm going to look at on the organizational environment or organization factor as one of the key determinant factor in ethical decision making. So what is the, according to Tribeno 1986, he mentioned that when you are referring to others, or in other words, reference others significantly influence the ethical decision making in organization. Okay, so according to him, when you are having an expert opinion, expert review, by looking on the external parties as a reference, people, so it have a positive impact, significant impact to the decision making. So what he said that the ethical behavior of the members of the organization can be shaped through the organization choice through working on modifying the attitudes and behaviors of the employees reference others. So when your ethical behavior The keyword there is, it will be very favorable for you to modify the attitude and behavior of the employee referred others. Okay, when you refer yourself to others, when you have been referred to others for opinion, for expert review, or even to give the field dependence being in your organizational. So these workers, of course, they will immediately modify their attitude. Because those who are with the internal, and when you have a collaboration with the external parties, you will enhance your attitude level and behavior in order to have a collaboration with the external reference workers, external reference parties. Okay, so continued by Farrell and Grisham, 1985. They also mentioned that consider significant others, whether the person is internally or externally to the organization. It could be a contingency variable in individual decision making. Okay, it's a contingency variable for them to make decisions. All right. So therefore, they come up with a kind of theory. They call it as the role set theory. Okay, we call it the role set theory, which is very much favorable and highly closely relevant with the depending on the specific situation. So meaning that when you have any specific situation, which is situation 1 does not same with the situation 2, which you can't take the decision as a overall, you have to go and take the decision based on individual situation. So therefore, they do suggest to use of role set theory. So meaning that organizational distance between the referent others and the focal persons. Okay, so this we call it on the referring to the specific situation by using the role set theory. Okay. Okay, we continue. So what are the values? What are the organization determinants, characteristics that you can look into? Okay, we say organizational, right? So what will be the attributes? What are the attributes for it? All right, number 1, you're having organizational values. Organizational values. Is it value important? Yes, organizational values is very much important because it could influence the decision than the personal value. If your company having a high positive value, high organizational values in terms of branding, reputation, in terms of loyalty, in terms of goodwill, in terms of awareness, so all these things will give a high influence on the decision making. Okay, so if your company is in a high top level, you can't simply make decision because you are a reputable company. So you're having a high reputable values. So you have to be very careful in your decision because it could have a greater impact compared to your personal values. All right. The second, you might have ethical choices in the business, which are often made jointly in work groups or committees. So you might have a commitment to be in the group, to work in the team in order to enhance the ethical choices in the business. Okay, number 3, decisions are made based on personal background and behavior. Yes, again and again, you have a personal background and behavior learned from others in the organization. So you're looking on the background, you're looking on the majority of your employees in the workplace, what was their behavior? What was their attitude? What was their academic education? What was their personal behavior? So you're looking on all these things as a background that you have to learn from the others in the organization. Okay? And then followed by, you have to depend on the strength of personal values and opportunities, because the strength of personal value is very crucial because it will give a lot of opportunity for you to behave unethically, exposed to others' behavior. So meaning that you could differentiate which one is unethical behavior, which one is you have that capability to differentiate, and you could expose to other kind of behaviors which is suitable according to the needs of the organization. Okay, so next, yes, we also have for alignments. We also have for alignments. So what alignment is that? Alignment of personal values. Again, I mentioned, I you still remember what is the personal value? The attributes for the personal value? Your nationality, your gender, your age factor. So all these things, your personal value and your organizational value. So when you have these two values together, it could create a positive work attitude and outcome. Of course, if both are integrated ethically, final product, final situation, or any dilemmas that you are facing in the organization, you will create positive working attitudes and outcomes. Okay, this could be the major impact from the personal values and organizational. And then balance of personal and organizational value, meaning that you're balancing yourself. So you want to, which is relate to commitment level, relate to your satisfaction, your motivation, your ethics, your work stress, and your anxiety. Okay, so all these things are the values that should be balanced as an individual, the values that should be balanced between personal and organizational. Some sort like, if you are naturally, example, let's say you are the graduating students, okay, you go for interview. So you find that you're a very highly committed person. So when you're chairing the interview, if the panels can realize this is one of your personal attributes, one of your personal character as being a committed person, I think this is the impact that giving this will give a high impact to the organization. Because if you're a highly committed person as an individually, you are very good positive value. Definitely, when you come and work in that organization, you will bring in your all positive value characters. So, oh, I'm a committed person. If I go to new job, I will be committed also, because naturally I'm a committed person. So when you go to any job, you'll be automatically will continue your personal attribute as a committed person. So by having these positive attributes together with the organizational value, so that will lead to the overall success of the commitment, of the motivation, and you might reduce the work stress and reduce the anxiety level. Okay, so this we call it how do you balance your personal and organizational value. Okay, and the last one is you are looking on the organizations develop a personality to help determine what is and what is not. This is another process. So once you have done successfully in the ethical decision making, there is a tendency saying that the organizational could develop a personality just to help to determine what is right and what is not ethical. Okay, so this is a kind of development of your organizational values. Okay. Okay. So you have done this. Number one, I just recalling organization value. You have done on the ethical choices. You understand about the personal background and behavior. And then you have covered on the strength of personal values and also opportunity. Okay. Now, in conclusions, we have some factors, organizational factors that significantly influence ethical decision making. So some of these factors include, all right, now, shall we do it together? I already give proper break, right? So now come back together with me. What was the first factor that could be the determining factor for the organizational determinants? What is the first one? Quickly, those who haven't participated. Except salsa. Except
Leadership.
salsa. Yes, Hasan.
Leadership, Miss.
Leadership. Very good. It's about leadership. All right. So if you're looking here, the behavior and ethical standards set by leaders within the organization, they can have a profound impact on the ethical behavior of employees. Yes, when you have an ethical standard that you have been set by the leaders, what they tend to do is they will look at on the outcome. So they will definitely, you will have the impact on your ethical behavior of the employees because you already set the rules. Okay, this is the rules set by the leader for the employee. So employee need to follow. If they don't follow, we can see what could be the possible impact on the ethical behavior. So the conclusion is when leaders demonstrate and prioritize ethical behavior, it sets a positive example for others to follow. You agree with me or not? Are you agree with me with the statement? If your leader showing a positive attitudes, demonstrating a very positive attitude and very positive ethical behavior, mean your leader is having a very high behavior attitudes. Does it mean that it will set a positive example for others to follow?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Miss.
Yes. Sometimes we easily show our finger, pointing our finger to others by blaming the others. If you yourself, example, if you behave poorly, ethically you behave poorly, then you will say, why only me? That student also never do. Why only me? You understand me? You will start pointing others. You will start comparing others. Why you're punishing me? Why you asking me? You understand what I mean? You will start comparing to others. And then you will say, oh, the leader also doing that. Why not me? If my boss can do that, I'm an employee. I don't mind. I also will do the same. I also will follow the same. Example, your boss used to come late, not being a good role model, always come late to the organization. So then one day when you come late, your boss asking you, why you come late? Example. Then can you say to your boss saying that you always come late, that's why I'm also coming late. Can you say that? All right?
No, Miss.
Yeah. So this could be the situation. Sometimes this we call it as a role model. All right? Leadership is a part of being a role model to others. So if you are portraying a very good ethical behavior, I'm sure that you will become a role model of positive example to the other stakeholders to follow what you are. Okay, so that's we call it leadership. This is the power of leadership. All right, so the leaders playing a very significant role in the organization in order to determine the ethical decision making of the process. Okay. Okay, next. What was the next? Just now was leadership. What was the next? Anyone?
Policies and procedure, Miss.
Yes, policies and procedures. What are you going to say about the policies? If the presence of clear and well communicated ethical policies and procedures, of course, can guide employees in making ethical decisions. Conversely, if your policies and procedures are conflicting, meaning that your conflicting policies could create ethical dilemmas. So this is the one, looking on your policy and procedures. Is it very clear or not? Is it understandable or not? Is it measurable or not? Is it specified or not? Is it achievable or not? You come up with a policy, something like, okay, today's productivity level should be 10,000 unit. But the number of workers and the period of working hours, which is not favorable for you to beat the productivity level of 10,000 unit. So this policy, which is not clear, it is not accepted as a guidance for others. Okay, so that's why they say when you have a good policy, which is very clear and well communicated, meaning that you explain well to your workers, to your employees, to your people in the organization regarding the company policies, regarding the guidance of the ethical procedures and so on. And it will surely making the employees towards the ethical decision making. If your policy is poor, not understandable, is very conflict, therefore you might face a lot of ethical dilemmas. Okay, good. Next.
Training and education.
Yes, training and education. So meaning that you are providing employees with ethical training. You're giving them the training, you're giving them the education to make them understand what is the organizational ethical expectation, and you develop the skill for them to navigate the ethical challenges. This is very important because without training and education, how people understand about what you mean by ethical decision making? Same like what I'm doing right now. Without today's lecture or without a lecture that conducted at UNP for this topic, are you going to understand the topic very well?
No.
No. So what do you have to do? You have to do your self-reference. So you go for expert reference, referring to your own material. So students love to ask from Mr. Google. Everything from Mr. Google. All right? So Google will help you. Now become very fantastic. Everything you will ask at ChatGPT. Okay? You will ask the ChatGPT, can you explain to me this? Can you ask this? So you will do all these things with a very fast mode of technology that we're having right now. By end of the day, there's no parties to assure that whether your reference is right or wrong. Okay? So that's why in organization, in order to make sure that employee understand the policy and procedures, what is the requirement of the organization, what is the goal to be achieved. So overall, the employee need to attend the ethical training and education that will be conducted by the organizational, because they want them to understand what are the list of ethical behavior, what are the list of unethical behavior. Some employees, they might don't know. They might don't know. Sometimes they feel, oh, is it wrong? I didn't know that it is a wrong attitude in the organization. I used to it with this attitude in my previous company. Sometimes they used to it with the previous company. All right? So they don't understand the policy that's set up by this company A. So whether it is to specify ethical and unethical behavior. All right? Or in other words, to specify acceptable and unacceptable behavior. So you have to give them the proper training. You have to give them proper education so that they understand what is the organization expectation. What is the ethical expectation for the organization? Okay? Because if they don't understand, your ethical risk will be shoot up very high. So it's a problem for the organization to monitor your ethical risk. Okay? So this is the so by having a training and education, so it's a good benefit for the employees to develop their skills and to make themselves ready to face any of the ethical challenges. Make you more matured, make you more in the standby mood. Now I'm ready. I have a proper knowledge. I have a proper education. So now I know how to tackle the situation, how to handle the ethical dilemmas. So this we call it training and education. Okay, the last one.
Incentive and
in
accountability.
accountability.
Incentives and accountability. Do you like reward? All of you? You like reward?
Yes, Miss.
Yani, you like reward? Vidya, you like reward?
Yes, Miss.
What kind of reward? Monetary or non-monetary? You don't know what you like? Monetary or non-monetary reward? What do you want? What do you like? Vidya, I'm asking. Which one you want? Monetary or non-monetary? Eh? No answer. I asked for Yani. You like monetary benefit or non-monetary benefit? Reward. What kind of reward you want? Do you understand what I'm asking? Let's say people give you reward. You're working in any organization. Okay, I make it simple. Let's say your result was super good. Your result was very good. Your CGPA pointer was very high. Okay? And your parents is asking, what do you want? Because your result is very good. What do you want? So you will ask for monetary reward or give me 1,000 ringgit. Monetary reward or you ask for non-monetary. Non-monetary can be a vacation trip or can be like you ask them to buy any goods for you, any things for you. So which one you like most of the time?
Monetary.
Oh, monetary, Salsa. Okay. How about the rest? I want to listen to you. Quickly, just sharing. I wanted to know what do you like. Oh my God. Only Salsa is responding. My dear student, what happened to the rest? Are you too tired today? I'm having a super sexy voice today. Huh? Because of the poor weather over here. But I can speak. My voice still can be listened. Why not? I'm listening to your beautiful voices. Can I have this gentleman, Dismas Yoga? How should I address you? Is it Yoga? Adrian? What is your name actually? You have 3 names over there. Dismas Yoga Adrian. What should you, oh, your calling name?
Dismas, Miss.
Dismas. Okay, good. Okay, so same thing go to organization. All right. They also want the incentive. Have you heard the word of bonus? Employee bonus. Have you heard? Did any of your parents receiving a bonus from the organization? Hello? Have you heard the word bonus before? When you're working in the organization, the management paying you bonus for your work performance, yearly bonus. Have you heard before?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Miss.
Yes, thank you so much. So same thing comes to this situation. Incentive and accountability. The presence of rewards for ethical behavior and consequences for unethical behavior. So when you behave ethically, when you are persons or individual who are having a very high ethical behavior, you will be rewarded. Definitely you will be rewarded. Okay? But if you are behave unethically, you might face the consequences. Your consequences could be a kind of warning letter, okay, a kind of disciplinary act. Maybe they give you like a monthly salary deduction for your mistakes that you have done, or for any unethical behavior. Some sort, like maybe you misuse the management fund, you misuse the your office fund. Okay, so when you misuse the office fund, there could be a negative consequences for your unethical behavior. So the punishment could be, as I mentioned just now, the punishment could be warning letter for you, or maybe they do a monthly salary reduction, or maybe they de-promoting you. You're not entitled to get a promotion in future, or maybe they're not willing to pay bonus for you. Bonus mean a kind of incentive and reward for you. So this is for negative behavior. But for ethical behavior, you will enjoy the reward for yourself. Okay? So, which has the can influence the individual choices, all right? A strong ethical framework include both incentive and accountability measure that can support ethical decision making. All right. So you could have an incentive, you can have a reward, and they could have a accountability measure in order to support the ethical decision making process. Okay. All right. Are you clear? Are you clear?
Clear, Miss.
So now let me know, what are the 4 factors? What was the number 1 just now? Before the
Policies
policy.
and procedure.
Before policy, what was that? Leader.
Leadership.
Leadership. Next.
Policy.
Policies and procedures. Next.
Training and
Education.
Yes, training and education. And the last.
Incentive and
accountability.
Yes, very good. So successfully you have gone through on this. Okay, before I move further, my dear lovely students, I told you, right, we have 3 determinants. We have covered the first one. What was that? We have 3 determinants in ethical decision making. I've covered the first one. Yes, Fania. Fania Rahayu. What was the first determinant? Hello? What was the first determinant? I just taught you, right? What was the first one?
Individual.
Sorry?
Individual determinant in ethical
Yes.
decision making.
Very good. The first one is the individual factor. Very good. Number 2?
Organization factors.
Organizational factor. Very good. And what will be the number 3?
Ethical culture.
Ethical culture factors.
Very good. Ethical culture as a determinants in ethical decision making. So we move forward toward ethical culture. Okay. So this is your last determinant for today. Ethical culture determinants in ethical decision making. All right. So what Tribino said, according to Tribino 1986, he assumed that the culture's definition is, what's the cultural definition? Authority relationship shapes the ethical behavior. Authority relationship shapes the ethical behavior. So meaning that the culture of attitude, the culture of the organization will have a positive relationship with the ethical behavior of the employee. Okay, so in organization where if you use a legitimate authority, Legitimate authority mean a kind of legitimacy theory. It's a leadership theory. All right. It's an accepted principle of work setting. Okay. They already set for you. They already have an acceptable principle for work setting. So most individual, what they have to do, they are expected to carry out the orders of those, means you have to fulfill. You have to obey to the accepted principle at your workplace with legitimate authority. Legitimate authority means with your higher authority level, your leader's authority, your highest authority, even if those orders are opposing to the person's determination of what is right. Example, I'm very keen to explain on the last second sentence. Even though those orders are opposing to the person's determination of what is right. Okay, have you heard the word of blind loyalty? Have you learned before? Blind loyalty? No idea. Okay. This is similar to blind loyalty. Why do I say that? Example, the management asks you to increase the chemical level in the product beyond the limit. Okay? Because they want the product to be top selling. Example, you are selling a cosmetic product. Assume that the mercury level should be 1%. But in order to make your product to be super product for fast selling and immediate effectiveness for the consumers, once you apply the cosmetic product, wow, immediately I become too beautiful. The product is really giving me absorb my skin very fast, giving a positive impact to my looking. Some sort like that. They want to increase the mercury level to 2%. Example, they want to increase to 2%. According to the specified law, because you have a working procedures which is specified by the government, example, the law said only 1%. But your legitimate authority, meaning that your higher authority, which is your boss, which is your higher superior, with your top management, asks you, don't bother about that rules. Follow what I'm saying. This is my authority, my principle, that you have to increase to 2%. So you as an employee, you know very well the action is wrong. Alright? You are very clearly knowing that the action is wrong. How could be 2%? It's supposed to be allowed for 1%. So this company is making mistake. The company is against the law. But why it could be the determinant factors? Because you follow blindly. You follow what your authority, legitimate authority say. Even though it is opposing to the what is right. You as a person, you know that is not right, but you have no choice. You have to listen to your legitimate authority decisions. So you understand what I'm telling? This is a culture, ethical culture that implemented in certain organization. That's the why that tribunals have find out in their empirical evidence because the principles are set by the legitimate authority, whereby the individual have to carry out that orders, even though against of their opinions. Are you clear? Got it?
Got it, Miss.
Good. Followed by the next. So how are you going to enhance your moral action? What are you going to do? How are you going to enhance? So therefore, you are required to promote accountability. You have to promote the accountability at all levels of the organization. So accountability is very important. meaning that you are being transparent. Accountability means you are being transparent, you are being responsible for your own action. Okay? You are being transparent, you are being responsible at the all level of the organization. So in our sense, the personal characteristics of the decision maker play a significant role in determining somebody's actions. Exactly. I agree with this statement. If you're naturally you're a very honest person, okay, you're a very highly honest person, definitely you will make a decision which is honest, honest decisions in every situation that you are facing at the workplace. But if you are naturally, you are not a committed person, you are quite lazy person, or you are quite a selfish person, all right? So if you're a selfish person, so whenever you make a decision, there is a tendency that you are make decision for your own selfishness in the workplace, which is the indicator of unethical behavior. So that's why I'm telling your personal characteristic is very important to make a sense in determining the actions, whether it's ethical or not ethical. Okay? So therefore, obedience to the authority is more likely to happen when the decision maker is not enough internally oriented. So you as a decision maker, you are not enough internally oriented or confident enough with your decision. So you have no choice. You don't have a strength. You don't have a value. You don't have a confident enough. So therefore, you have the only option that you're having is being obey to the authority, to the legitimate authority. So obedience to the authority. Okay. Okay, next. So, how you're going to establish the ethical culture? What are you going to do? Can anyone let me know how to establish the culture within the organization? What should be the first start? Quickly. Within the organization.
Within the organization, start with the mutual is commitment to and from the staff and shareholders to ethical standard.
Yes, very good. So in order for you to establish an ethical culture within the organization, your key point, your key point to start is you should have a mutual commitment. You should have a mutual commitment to and from the staff and shareholders to ethical standards. Okay? Commitment to and from the staff and shareholders to ethical standards is very important. And number 2, such commitment should be shared by all hierarchical layers of the organization. Means everyone should be sharing that commitment level. In fact, it cannot be one-sided independent commitment. It cannot be one-sided. All right, it should be two-sided, right? So one-sided independent commitment will hinder the implementation of ethical culture. So you cannot have a favoritism, you cannot have a bias. You should have a mutual commitment. All right, mutual commitment to the ethical standards. So according to Wood 2002, he mentioned that the commitment of business organization to an ethical agreement whereby the management and the employees will accept by an ethical culture at all times. So, you should have a mutual commitment mean what kind of commitment? Ethical agreement. So, what is the ethical agreement? Management and the employee agree that they will accept the ethical culture all the time. Meaning that you will accept and implement the ethical culture all the times. You are not making any failure for it. Okay? So therefore, the how to have a mutual agreement, how to have a mutual commitment and ethical agreement. What are the guidance that you need? You need the establishment of code of ethics. So code of ethics is a fundamental, important element that reflects the ethical culture of the organization. Okay, so this code should address what should have in this code of ethics. You should have the internal ethical challenges as well as external ethical consideration. Should mention about what is the internal and what is the external ethical challenges. All right. Kalau external, we used to refer to like suppliers, competitors, and your clients, your customers. All right. So these are the code of ethics. It's very important to reflect the ethical culture of the organization. Therefore, Wood 2002, what do you suggest? It suggests that in order to implement corporate value to promote the code of ethics, so the appointment of corporate ethic committee. How you should have a code of ethics? How come you suddenly you can come up with the model of code of ethics? So in order to implement the code values of code of ethics, you should appoint corporate ethic committee. This ethic committee, they will play their fundamental role in manifesting of the commitment to an ethical corporate culture. So when you're having an ethic committee, they will construct the code of ethics, which can be implemented by the employees and the management to be practiced in order to enhance the ethical decision-making process at the organizations. Okay. So successfully, I have done all the things. Now, can I do a revision session with you? As what I have done last week, you are going to highlight the important points on every slide that we have learned this morning. Shall we? Are you ready?
Ready,
Okay,
Miss.
so we are going to... Okay, good. What was today's topic? What was
Ethical
today's topic?
Ethical
Ethical
decision
decision.
and determinant of ethical decision.
Very good. Okay, this time I want everyone to participate. Okay, I want everyone to join with me. Not the same person. I think Salsa, I should thank to you. You have participated uncountable numbers. All right. So thank you so much. So, but I want to encourage the participation for the revision from all of you together with me. All right. Since I'm going to wrap up the topic. Okay. So we have covered the topic of what do you call ethical decision and determinants of ethical decisions. All right. So what was the learning outcome? First, we have covered about ethical decision. Number 2, dilemmas. Number
In
3,
ethical decision.
yes. Number 3, why ethical decision? And what is number 4?
Ethical
Ethical
decision making.
decision making.
Very good. Number 5?
And ethical decision
Ethical
making.
decision making.
Yes. And number 6, can you let me know what are the determinants of ethical decision?
Individual, organization, and ethical culture.
Very good. Okay, now for this slide, what is the key point? Quickly, anyone? Just let me know the key point. Ethical decision. If you're looking on is you have a multiple step, right? So what to be your key points for the steps? Quickly, number 1. Quickly, you have to identify the issue or problem. Number 2,
Ethical
Ethical
judgment.
judgment.
Yes. Yes, you're making ethical judgment or evaluation. Number 3.
Behavioral
Behavior
intentions.
attention.
Yes. And the last?
Subsequent behavior.
Behavior.
Subsequent behavior. Very good. All right. Okay. Why? Can I ask you why we should care about ethical decision? What will be the implication? The third paragraph, you have it. If you don't make proper ethical decision, what will be the impact?
Maybe the biggest cost factor for the business.
Yes, biggest cost factor for the business. Very good. Next. Siapa belum participate? Who haven't participate? Quickly, I'm calling. Hermilia Putri. Let me know. What is the dilemmas in ethical decision? Struggle to what?
Struggle to determine the appropriate response to a situation that requires action.
Very good. You are too struggle, meaning that you are too struggle to determine the appropriate response. You are unable to feedback, to respond or give a feedback to the situation immediately, which is needed, right? Okay, then you have a dilemma situation. A to G, this is the dilemma situation for you. Okay, I proceed next. Why we need ethical decision? So in order to have why need decision, it will make you to feel confident with your choices. So what are the approaches that can be used? We have 3 approaches there. What are they?
The utilitarian approach.
To approach and the justice approach.
Very good. Utilitarian approach, virtual approach, and justice approach. Okay, good. So what is the conclusion before you make a decision or make an action? What you should do?
Acknowledge and understand the factor that might affect your ethical decision-making process.
Yeah, very good, Asan. You should understand the factors that might affect your ethical decision-making process before you take any action. So meaning that you have to make a evaluation of the outcome, whether positive outcome or negative outcome. You're looking on the consequences. Very good. Next, this is the process we have done earlier. Okay, now you tell me. All right. So what is the ethical decision making? EDM. Okay. So what in the case of ethical dilemma, what the individual should do? The second paragraph.
Make a decision.
The situation.
Faced with a choice and needs to make a decision. Very good. Okay, now what are the 4 standard or 4 steps for comprehensive assessment of ethical behavior? Number 1.
Consequences created.
Consequences. Benefit or cost meaning what? I told you just now. Benefit or cost mean referring to more positive.
Yes, Miss.
Yes. More positive consequences or more negative consequences. Then you have the right and duties, followed by fairness and motivation. If consequences mean referring to the word of, which one? Consequentialism.
Consequentialism.
Very good. If right and duties, referring to?
Deontology.
Very good. Very good. If fairness, referring to?
Justice.
Justice. And the last one, referring to?
Motivation.
Whose motivation? Whose motivation?
Decision maker.
Yes, motivation of the decision maker. Very good. Okay, now quickly let me know the processes of ethical decision making. Number one, you gather the information regarding the issue or problem. Number two, what do you do?
Evaluate.
Evaluate what? Give me the keyword. Evaluate.
Potential consequences.
Yes, potential consequences. Number three, you consider what?
The interest of
Consider the interest of multiple stakeholders.
Yes, you consider the interest of the stakeholder. Number four, you seek what guidance? You seek guidance from who?
College or external resources.
Yes, colleagues and external resources. And lastly, second last, you choose the option. And last one, what do? You engage in?
Ethical
In
reasoning.
ethical reasoning and reflection.
Yes, very good. Good. Okay, these are the determinant factors. We have three: individual, organization, and ethical. So individual mean we have two determinants for individual. The first is personal
attributes.
Personal attribute. Example is?
Nationality, sex, and age.
Yes, your gender, your age, and so on. Your second is? Second determinant for individual?
Human development and socializing factors.
Yes. What are the example?
Personality,
Personality,
education,
religion, and
Yes, very good. Okay. It's your attitude, your values, your education, your religion, and employment. Very good. Okay. And then according to Trivenus, we have determinants for those reflected the model, which you have three determinants for it. What are they?
locus of control, ego strength, and field dependence.
Yes, very good. So locus of control mean, you let me know. What happened? Locus of control mean they will measure what? So the locus of control is a skill that would measure
What?
measure
to
what?
what extent
An individual relies on his or her own belief to determine right from wrong.
Yes, very good. To what extent? How about the ego? High ego, what is the implication? High ego strength. You have to follow?
Ego strength impulse and follow their convictions more than individuals with low ego strength.
Yes. So if you have high ego strength, you have to follow the strong convictions of the individual with the low ego strength. Very good. How about the field dependence? Okay. So you are making your field dependence, make the decision according to the own standard, regardless of the context in which this decision are being made. So meaning that, is it the field dependence will enhance your ethical behavior? Yes. Right? The answer is yes. Okay, next. Organizational behavior. Okay. So here is referring to of significant factors that influence the decision making that I mentioned just now. So what are they? Number one, your organizational values. Number two,
Ethical choice.
ethical choices. Number three,
Personal background
and behaviors.
yes. Number four,
Strength of personal values, opportunities.
very good. Number five,
Alignment of personal values and organizational values.
good. Number six,
Balance of personal and organizational values.
very good. And number seven,
Personality help determine what is and is not ethical.
very good. So these are the elements that related to the organizational. So therefore, we have some factors for organizational determinants. Number one is leadership. So what is the leadership demonstrate to you? When leader demonstrate ethical behavior, is it a positive example or negative example to others to follow?
Positive example.
Yes, positive example for the others to follow. It become a role model. How about policy and procedures? If the policy is very clear, is it will enhance the ethical behavior? Is it
Yes.
so? Yes. How about training and education? Proper training and education, is it will help to enhance the ethical behavior?
Yes, Miss.
Yes, Miss.
Yes, also develop the skills. And the last one, incentive and accountability is a reward for who? Ethical behavior or unethical behavior?
Ethical behavior.
Unethical behavior. So for unethical behavior, you will have a negative consequences. Very good. And this is about your ethical culture. So this is about your legitimate authority. You have to follow the principle, even though opposing to the determination of what is right. And how you enhance the moral action? You promote what?
Accountability.
What you are promoting?
Accountability.
Yes, Hasan? Accountability. Very good. So, in order to promote accountability, what is the characteristic that is needed? What is this? Personal
Characteristics
of decision maker play a significant role. Very good. So, how you're going to establish the ethical culture? You're going to start with what?
Mutual commitment to enforce
Mutual commitment. Yes. So your commitment is, in other words, according to Wood, your commitment is it an ethical agreement? Is it an ethical agreement according to Wood? Your third paragraph.
ethical agreement whereby the management and the employees will accept by an ethical culture at all times.
Yes, very good. And lastly, how do you establish the ethical culture? By having, I just mentioned to you, by having what? Code?
Code of ethics.
Yes, code of ethics. Okay. So in order to have a code of ethics, okay, so because code of ethics will reflect the ethical culture. So in order to have a code of ethics, you should have what? The second paragraph. Well, you should have what? I just explained. What you should have? You should have an appointment of a
Suggest further that in order to implement corporate values promoted in codes of ethics, the appointment of a corporate ethics committee is a fundamental practical manifestation of the commitment to an ethical corporate culture.
So the keyword is, in order to have a establishment of code of ethics, you should have an appointment of a
corporate ethics
committee. Yes, very good. So finally, you have done successfully the sharing session for today. I'm not telling I'm having a lecture with you, but I would like to say as a sharing session of knowledge with the students for you to make clearly understand the needs of the topic, not only from the textbook reference, but also the reference that I've cited from the empirical evidence so that you have a global ideas and understanding about the topic. All right. So by then, Thank you so much for being with me from morning 9 o'clock until now and listening to me. And also thank you for continuously participating in my class. I'm so happy even from the last week, even from today, those who have participated, those who are going to participate with me for my last class next week. Okay, I'm waiting few of the voices that I'm looking for. Where I haven't listened to your voice. Maybe I'll wait for next week. All right, for my last class. So by then, thank you so much. So I hand over the session to Dr. Ika for a while.
Thank you, Dr. Fani. Thank you for the great lecture today. And then the student got the broad perspective about the subject today. Is about the ethical determinant, yeah, and including individual factor and contextual factor. So the students, you got the deep understanding about this subject, and then I hope that you can implement your understanding into the various topic of research, including taxes, auditing, financial accounting, management accounting, and so on. Because the ethic issue can be implemented in the various subjects. So it is a great topic to be explored, right, Dr. Fani? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you very much, students. You have followed the lecture until the end, and then we will have the last meeting with Dr. Fani next week, in the same time, same schedule, and then I hope you are all healthy, and let's make the great final meeting next week. Okay, thank you, Dr. Fani. Thank
Thank
you
you
all.
so much.
Yeah, bye bye. Assalamualaikum
Thank you.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah. Moment, I take a picture. Okay,
Yes.
prepare yourself. 1, 2, 3. And okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, and bye-bye to all of you too, and Dr. Ika as well. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. See you next week.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Bye, all of you.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. 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 Thank you. Bye.
Thank